The loud ring woke Persephone, and she reached out a hand to bat at the alarm clock on her bedside cabinet, pressing down the button on the top to silence the clamour. She pulled her arm back beneath the covers, sparing a thought for the time when a maid would have crept into her room while she slumbered to get the fire going, returning later with a cup of hot chocolate for Miss Persephone to get her day off to a cosy start. How things had changed. Not just for her, for everyone. But, by crikey, they had changed for her. Matt Franklin had changed her life beyond belief. She'd been at work until 2 this morning, and then had been called upon to do another hour, so she had slept in late today. She swung out of bed, pushing her feet into her slippers, and drew her dressing gown out from inside the bed. It was much nicer to get into a toasty warm gown than a chilly one that had hung up neatly all night on the back of the door. Going to the window, she pulled open the thick blackout curtains, followed by the lavender silk curtains, which matched the lavender satin bows that held back the white muslin drapes, falling prettily to the floor on either side of her half-tester bed. Tying her dressing gown more closely around her, Persephone used the flat of her hand to wipe clear a patch of condensation on the inside of the window pane. There were even patches of frost there, too. Outside, snow lay on the ground several inches deep. The sky was a soft duck-egg blue with wisps of cloud. The light from the sun, though milky, was sufficient to bring forth a smattering of twinkles from the snow, especially where it smothered the hedges. Persephone sighed, and then smiled at her own reaction to the scene below her window. Even after more than 4 years of war, of anxiety and rationing and the blackout, and every single thing one cared to mention being in frightfully short supply, even after all that, nature could still pull something special out of the bag and take one's breath away. Tugging the lavender curtains closed again, she hurried into the bathroom that stood in between her bedroom and the one on the other side. She'd had the bathroom to herself almost the whole time since she'd been shunted off to Darley Court by Pa and Ma at the outbreak of war. That had been a huge luxury to start with because Merrick House, the family's ancestral pile down in Sussex, wasn't exactly over-endowed in the bathroom department. Even so, Persephone now reckoned that her favourite times at Darley Court had been when first her friend Colette and later her sister, Iphigenia, had stayed in the opposite bedroom. And there had been much crossing through the bathroom to sit on one another's beds and talk. Those had been special times, though for very different reasons. Colette had come to Darley Court in need of sanctuary after she had left her husband, while Iphigenia had been here as an ordinary guest, sprinkling the magic dust of her charm wherever she went. Next to the porcelain enamelled bath, with its black line around the inside, showing precisely how much, or rather, how little, water was permitted for wartime ablutions, was a copper gas geyser on a wood and metal stand. From the top of the geyser, a cylindrical flue reached up almost to the blue-painted ceiling before turning and disappearing through the line of flower-decorated tiles that topped the plain white ones below. Persephone cleaned her teeth and washed her face and hands, using the tiniest possible quantity of soap. It was essential, of course, to ration all kinds of things, and Persephone had discovered that, although it was possible to live without many items, there were others that it was a dratted nuisance to do without. Soap was definitely on the dratted list. To be fair, though, she was fortunate to have a job that didn't involve getting mucky, unlike her chum Margaret, who cleaned locomotives in the engine shed for a living, not to mention Miss Brown's land girls. Persephone returned to her bedroom. Fond as she was of it, she had to admit that the paint on the window frames, picture rail and door could do with a fresh coat. But nobody had been allowed to have paint for decorative purposes for simply yonks.